I actually caught up with Blackie earlier on this year, just after the band had made their first ever appearance on the stage at Castle Donington. I asked young Blackie, well, sir, how did it go?
We're now labeling it the Donington Massacre, after what we did down there. We were expected to do some things. W.A.S.P have always been unpredictable, and we didn't see Donington as being any different than anything we've ever done before. We knew people were going to be waiting and watching for us to do something unusual, so we decided we'd give them more bang for their buck, so to speak.
I mean, apart from actually destroying the stage at the end of your set, it also featured a return of the girl on the stage and the rack.
Well, that contraption that we constructed a few years back is called, we call it the rack for lack of nothing better to call it. And what that whole show was designed to do was to send a message to people, signaling the return of the old W.A.S.P. The old W.A.S.P is back in here to stay, be that good or bad, whether you like it or not. That's about the way it's going to be from now on. As a matter of fact, there have been certain incidences that have happened in the last 6 months that have led us to this. And I would say that if people thought that we were outrageous before, they ain't seen nothing yet.
When you say certain instances, are you referring to the PMRC and
a lot of it is the PMRC. The PMRC has been a plague that has hounded us for the last 2 years in America. And it's been something that we refused to talk about for a long time. And it was almost like a fly. It was this pesky thing, like, shoo, get away, get away. And we were hoping that it would go away. And not only did they not go away, they finally revealed themselves about 3 months ago as to what they were all about, which is essentially trying to put a man in the White House. The PMRC has been nothing more than a political platform to put Albert Gore, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. And that in itself is one thing. But Tipper Gore, who is Albert Gore's wife, has written a book. She is the head of the PMRC. She has written a book called Raising PG Kids in an X-Rated Society. And it was bad enough when they used us to get publicity out of. And I mean, it makes sense if you think about it. What better way to get attention than to go after an attention getter? That was one thing. But when she wrote this book to fuel the fire for his presidential campaign and was using me in that as well, to pick on me is one thing, to make money off of me is another. And the buck stops here literally on that. So we're going to sue them because they have reprinted lyrics in this book without permission. They've changed the lyrics, which I ask myself, if our lyrics were that bad to begin with, why'd they have to change them? They reprinted the infamous Animals single sleeve without permission as well. So what we're asking essentially is for a cease and desist on this book, to stop printing it. So we will sue her and the publisher for one of two things: $50,000 in cash to be donated to a charity of our choice, and it won't be his campaign fund, or a handwritten apology to be given to me on nationwide television, which is really what I want. And I doubt that it'll ever get to either one of those, but if we get our point across to get them to stop this book, I'll be happy with that. I don't want to see this ever get that far where a man like this gets put into the White House. First of all, I don't trust a man that sleeps with a woman like that. And if they get control of the FCC, which is our federal communication, then you're going to have a state that if people think America's conservative now, they haven't seen anything.
It's actually only your 4th album. What made you decide to release a live record at this time?
When we were here last year, we made a recording for the BBC when we played Hammersmith. And I went and I mixed it, and we were astounded at the quality of it. We thought, well, maybe we have something here. So we went back to America and we started thinking about it. And so we made preparations to record the last few shows of the American tour. And we recorded them, and they turned out to be what we thought was the essence of what W.A.S.P was all about. At that point, we thought that it might be a little premature to release a live album in its own, so we put 3 new tracks on it as well to try to give it some sort of a bonus feeling as well. It won't be a record that W.A.S.P will try to tour on. It won't be a record that we will go for a year before we release another record. We go back to America in a couple of days, just commence work on the next studio album, which should be out somewhere at the end of February '88. But I think that we have finally, like I said, captured the essence of what we're all about, because W.A.S.P were essentially a live band. And we've done records that I thought that were good, but nothing that ever had the magic that this record had.
One studio track on the album, which is, of course, the new single "Scream Until You Like It."
Right, the Ghoulies soundtrack.
Right, which is also the theme tune to the new Ghoulies movie.
Right.
What's the story there? What came first, the film or the song?
Well, actually, the company came first, because there's a company called Empire Pictures back in America, and we did a film for them about 3 years ago called Rage War, which was released over here, I believe, called The Dungeon Master, something like that. A horrible film. I mean, it wasn't worth watching. And this person that runs the company they were going to do a Ghoulies sequel. Well, when they did the first Ghoulies, it was right about the time we had done our movie, so I went in to see a private screening for it, and they happened to have a copy of the first Ghoulies. So the guy says, "Do you want to see part of it?" And I says, "Yeah, okay, well, I'm here, show it to me," you know. So I watched about 30 minutes, and I says, "I've seen all I want to see, that's okay, thank you." So they approached us with this. They said, "Would you like to do the soundtrack for it?" And I says, "No, I don't think so." And they said, "Well, why not?" And I said, "Well, I saw the first one and I wasn't very impressed with it." And the guy says, "Well, you realize it did $35 million in business." And I said, "Excuse me, I do believe I could get interested in this." So we did it, wrote the song for it, did the video. I would say that I think the video for the Scream Until You Like It track is one of the better ones that we've ever done, because it's these little creatures, and in the video, they're like my children. And I send them out to do all these horrible, horrible things, and they come back and they report back to me. And there was magic when we were shooting it, and we realized it. And it was incredible, because as I'm sitting there, they're sitting on my lap, and I talk to them, and they talk back to me. And it takes 5 guys to operate each one of them. And their ears move independently, their eyes move, their lips curl, and their mouths move, and they talk, literally. And it was really an incredible thing. And when they were sitting on my lap, and I talked to them, when they talked back, I bought it. I could see the guys on the floor operating, but they literally come to life. It's a lot of Jim Henson's people from the Muppets that did them, and the guys are nothing short of fantastic.
Just for you and the band right now, although you say you're not going to tour tremendously on the back of your new live album, I understand you are going to be playing nevertheless in America?
We've talked about doing a half a dozen dates in America, just the major cities. Same thing we did here with Donington, something to create profile for the record. But largely what we want to do is get back to work on a new record, because we don't want to go for an entire year on just a live album. In other words, we try to segue our time where we're not gone from any one area more than about a year and a half at a time. So by the time we could do another album and get back here to Europe, it will have been a year and a half since we were here before. So that should be just about perfect timing for us to come back, say, April of '88.
Yeah, Blackie, my man!